Long ago, before the Empire reached the forests and fjords of Ancestor, this was already a cold and pale land, with crypts built over cemeteries, over barrows, and over ancient battlefields. The Taolin, who by this time had adopted banners of yellow and sorrel, crossed this cold land with sword and fire, and added bodies to the graves of the northern natives, the Varlen. When the Empire created its first settlements in the north, it encountered a warlike people. In every village stood stone icons of protective ancestors. Every home and hall displayed shrines with figurines to remember the founders of dynasties and the heroes of the past. And even these ancestors mingled with the architecture of bridges, arches, and walls in friezes and reliefs. The Northerners are a people who live with the dead. Most of them wear robes tied to their bodies, adorned with figurines of their ancestors, which may represent important family members or ascendants with whom they feel a personal connection and whose great deeds they strive to embody. Or they present them in ornate shrines, which are never missing in Varlen dwellings. These figures were once made from the bones of the relative in question, but more modern icons are made from all kinds of materials and in a variety of styles, always symbolizing some aspect of the life or great deeds of the individual their descendants wish to remember. Thus, a founding ancestor, or one remembered for glorious leadership, might be represented with a gold-plated figure, or a poet might be immortalized with his instrument. However, many Varlen still take hair, teeth, or a part of their relative and place it inside the figure. It is well known within the tribe that this practice of ancestor worship stems from the adoration of a series of ancient figures whose names have resurfaced since the fall of the Taolin. These figures are known as the precursors, and the Babylins, whom the Varlen hold in high esteem, have rediscovered around 20 of them. Among these are fabulous figures such as Ardnin of the Silver Lake and Makar of the Starry Eyes. Before the arrival of the Empire, many were worshipped as gods and appeared in myths, chronicles, and legends, side by side with imaginary or historical figures. But the tribe in white did not allow worship to be given to anyone other than themselves. Thus, although the precursors were not gods, they became knights, witches, heroes, and figures wielding another kind of power. A power, if not divine, then perhaps attainable. This sentiment met with the Taolin's individualistic desire for self-improvement and, of course, with the oppression they inflicted on human beings, creating the breeding ground that gave birth to The Strength and the Nation, a manifesto written by the Babylin poet Snorri van Sturm. The book is a reflection on the submission and autonomy of the tribes, and how this created a self-conviction of their inferiority. More dangerous, says the author, than the oppression of the tyrant itself. Snorri uses the tales of the predecessors and other myths that he compiled in one of his previous works as metaphors for freedom and self-determination. The Varlen concluded as a tribe that nations must be strong, renew their identity in that strength, and build their own legacy rather than that of others. The text became popular even among neighboring tribes, and its influence on the rebellion of the Northmen cannot be underestimated. This was a people already familiar with war, and saw in it the expression of the strength of a dormant people. As for Snorri, he disappeared before he could see the fall of the empire and the impact of his work. His message belongs to the people, so that they may construct new meanings with his ideas. The Varlen are fair-skinned, and their hair is blonde or brown, with many redheads and freckled faces. They all have white streaks that give them a distinctive look, and they wear them with pride. These have earned them the nickname snow-haired among the Southerners. Their eyes tend to be blue and green, with some reaching deep cyan or sky blue and steel. Their faces are sculpted, with powerful cheekbones and square jaws. They are tall and strong, mostly triangular in build, with swimmer shoulders thanks in part to their society's high regard for athleticism and a standard of healthy personal hygiene. With these practices, the Varlen believe they are closer to the figures of their predecessors. Today, the tribe is divided into two ideologically distinct families. The first and majority are the Varlen Germain, who meet the criteria we have already explored, such as the worship of ancestors and precursors. The other are the Varlen Keltar, who adhere to the Artinist Usul, a variant of the Mitad faith that recognizes the existence and authority of God, but views certain precursors as saints. This faith has spread to the north through the influence of another neighboring tribe, which we will discuss later. My initial inspiration for the Varlen were various Norse and Germanic peoples, but I tried to distance myself from the stereotype of the brute Viking by giving their belligerent drive a philosophical and cultural foundation. They have a past rich in stories of heroes in the style of Greek myths or the gods of the Norse pantheon, and like Hellenistic peoples of our planet, they idealize these powerful figures. At the same time, for generations, they were artificially removed from this tradition by the Taolin and introduced to a torrent of new ideas that generated a reaction in them. The figure of Snorri van Sturn is inspired by the poet Snorri Sturluson, and the fictional manifesto, The Strength and the Nation, is inspired by the impact generated by texts of high social significance from the 19th century. On the other hand, their aesthetic has touches of the Art Deco of the Empire, with an exaltation of the human form. Their ancestor figures are based on Nefataful pieces, while the soldiers' attire is inspired by firefighters and astronaut uniforms, as well as spectacle helmets and the German Stahlhelm from the First World War. with the aim of giving the Varlen military apparatus an industrial, mass-produced style. In this illustration, Pedra van Jolden leads her company's charge through the mud under a ringed sky.